Start the show.
We should record that shit because that would be fun.
That's the goal.
Anyway.
Hello. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. So, if I told you that 70 to 80% of businesses in South Africa that start will fail within the first 5 years, would you want to? Or would you be one of those people that say, no, I'll be in the 20%. I'll make it. Because you know something that the other 80% don't know. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Suleman, and I am the host of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. And today I am joined by one of Africa's top experiential trainers in business development and sales, Mr. Barry Mitchell. Barry has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs across the world, but mainly in the past few months, moving into years, I would say. He's worked with some of the biggest companies in the SADC region, some companies like Halstead, Wheel Tyre, Pupkewitz Megatech, and Paratus. Companies you don't know, but they make a big impact on the African landscape of business. Barry, how goes it?
How's it, Sully? Good on you?
Good, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good to be with you on another podcast.
So today,
hope you're getting value out of these, by the way.
I'm going to give you some questions I will ask on the channel as well.
Okay,
don't you worry. But thank you guys for subscribing. Those of you who have subscribed, our number is dropping in terms of people who are watching versus people who are subscribing. So that's super exciting. Just before I continue, some of you might know I have set out an audacious goal for the channel, 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So hit subscribe. Help me reach that goal. So today, to follow up on our side hustle episode,
I'm going to throw a challenge in.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a challenge in. If you subscribe between the time this podcast is out and the end of October, whoever subscribes, we'll put you in a hat and we'll do a draw for 5 of my books.
5 of your books?
Yeah, so we'll draw 5 people.
Yeah.
5 people of the subscribers between now and the end of October, and we'll draw 5 names out of the hat from the subscribers who subscribed, and we will send you my Salesman's Journey book, which is worth 450 Rand, and we'll send it to you for free and pay for the postage.
Yes,
and delivery. How's that?
So a challenge on a challenge. All you got to do is subscribe and you get a book. 30 years of experience.
Well, you get a chance of winning a book.
Yes, sorry. You don't just get a book if you subscribe. You get a chance to enter into the competition to win a book. 30 years of experience from Barry Mitchell, working in the trenches, the salesman's journey. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different to follow up on our side hustle episode that we did last week. And I wanted to talk about the top 5 things people should know or do before they start a business in South Africa. There's a specific reason as to why I wanted to do this, because yesterday we were talking about businesses in Edenville in our meeting.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses in Edenville. So then I was like, well, how many new businesses have opened in South Africa in the past 18 months? I was like, I just need to know that number. They estimating, the last time this was surveyed by the World Bank was in 2022. And in that time period, 434,024 new businesses opened in South Africa.
Over what period of time?
In the year of 2022.
Okay, opened or were registered?
Registered.
Okay, so
registered.
The big difference between opening a business and registering a business.
What's the difference?
Well, you can register a business, you just have a registered business, it's a piece of paper. It means you have a piece of paper that says, I am the registered owner of this business. You don't have to trade, you don't have to do anything, there's a registered business.
Got you.
So there's companies that register shelf companies.
Okay.
In companies, over years, we've registered businesses before to have a vehicle that we can utilize going forward. So it doesn't mean that those 400,000 businesses that were registered are actually operational businesses, and it would be interesting to find the number of those businesses that aren't actually trading and didn't trade and just are registered businesses. So because registering a business is not that hard to do.
So I feel like that's a bonus that we give.
Starting a business is very different. You know, saying I'm a business owner because I have a piece of paper that's registered doesn't make you a business owner. It makes you someone who registered a business name.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you own the name. I get that, but you're not building. You haven't got a business.
Yeah.
So
you got a registered business.
Well, you got to register.
You got a piece of paper.
You got to now build a business. You know, so you don't put the business registration on the wall and it's like an ATM spits friggin' money at you.
So, would we say that that's number one, understanding the difference between having a registered business and an operational business?
Yeah. So
knowing what the difference is.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is you got to register a business because, you know, my definition of a business is it's a legal entity, and registering a business makes it legal. Okay. So you have to register it to make it legal. You register with SIPC, it becomes a legal entity, and on a year-to-year basis, you have to follow the legal process of keeping your business compliant. So that's the first step. But once you have a registered business, it doesn't make it a business because now you have to start generating income and getting your business going.
All right. Number two. What's number two? I need to know what to do in South Africa before I start a business.
Well, I don't know. You got 6 things there, so I thought you were going to tell me, but should I take a guess?
Let's go.
Before you start a business.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the key things is understand your tax requirements.
Ooh, finances.
Yeah, so one is understand your tax requirements, when you need to be VAT registered, and so on. So understand that, get an idea of your obligation in terms of tax. Okay. Taxes for you, and if you employ anyone, what are the taxes that you're going to have to pay them? What taxes like PAYE, VAT, etc., etc. So understand that. The second key thing, and you said it, is money and finance. So, you know, people are starting a business and have no idea how to get money, and have no idea how to make money.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have this registered business, and then they're sitting around waiting for someone to give them money. Okay, share a secret with you. The bank ain't going to give you friggin' money. They're not. They're not just going to, because you register a business and you think you have a good idea, and you have a business plan, they're not going to give you money.
Yeah.
You know, so when you're starting a business, before you start a business, understand what and capital you are going to require, how much capital you're going to require, and what that capital is going to be used for. Okay, and biggest mistake I'm seeing in many small businesses, people think when they access capital, they think having a business is having plush offices, a nice suit, and a big frigging car. Yeah, that's just stupid. You know, use that income, use that capital to generate income and build your business, not to look good.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, let's fire away your.
You're gonna go on my list.
Yeah, let's go to your list. And
funny enough, your list was
through that.
Yours was number 3. So, number 1 on my list, know your why.
So yeah, so know your why. Well, know your why, and we teach it in all our events. Begin with the end in mind. So get clarity on why you're going to build your business.
Yeah, well.
But be realistic. You know, I'm watching people start businesses and I'm going to be the next big billionaire, millionaire, multi-millionaire in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that's going to happen. Well, you said the stats, you have an 80% chance of failing. So with that stat of 80% chance of failing, understand you have a chance of failure. Don't set out to fail. I set out to be the 20%.
Yeah.
I get that. But don't be naive enough to think that shit is not going to come your way. It is going to come your way. Building a business is one of the hardest things you are ever going to do in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, don't stop listening to these people that tell you, start a business, follow my 7 steps, and you too will be a multi-millionaire in the next 3 weeks and have a friggin' 7 Ferraris. Okay, I can put it no other way. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Fair.
So step 1, understand your why. Reality is does that why have to be intergalactic? No. For some people, starting a business means I need to get out, generate income because, I don't know, I lost my job, I can't find a job, I'm sick and tired of my job, so I want to start a business. Well, understand that, then find a why. The why is I need to generate X amount of income. Okay, sit down and get clear on what are your expenses, how much money do you have to bring in for you to be able to continue living in the way that you want to live in the moment. Not my why is I want 7 yachts. Okay, first why is what do I need to do now? In the next 12 months, what do I need to do now? You know, but we teach it in all our seminars. Begin with the end in mind. You know, in a salesman's journey, I teach a 10-year timeline, something that I learned from an incredibly successful network marketer called Mitch Sala. Develop a 10-year timeline. Where are you going in 10 years? Sometimes 10 years is too far for people to look up. No problem. Go 5 years or go 3 years. But get clarity on what you want and create some sense of reality. Be realistic about, if you've never made money before and you've never got out and sold stuff and you've never generated income, be realistic. Okay, it's going to be friggin' tough. Okay, there's stuff that you are going to encounter that you have no idea that you're ever going to encounter. Okay, because you've come out of a business, I don't know, you think you're in sales or you're a sales manager or you're an operations, head of operations or an operations manager or you're a sales rep or whatever, and you think you understand business. Step one, you don't understand business. Generally you don't understand business. You've never run your own business. You've never taken money out of your pocket to invest in something with the risk of losing it all. So set yourself up, and so I like that. Get clarity on your why. Get clarity and reality on what you want to achieve in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And then expand it from there.
Step number 1, write it down. Write down your why. And I think it's cool that you actually said that if your why is, I lost my job or I can't find a job, I need to make money, I need to generate X amount of income for whatever your reason might be.
Well, the reason right now would be cover your expenses.
Yeah.
You know, cover your expenses, continue being able to live in the fashion that you're living when you had your job, and make that the first step, because when you do that, at least you are now in a position where you're not worrying about where your next friggin' paycheck comes from. So get clarity in that step. Great, I'm glad you're going to be the next billionaire. Wonderful. But the first step is cover your expenses.
Yeah.
You know how many people I meet that tell me they're going to be the next billionaire, and I go, great, well, you know, come on my course. Oh, I have no money. Well, it's $6.5 grand, but you're going to be the next billionaire. And then I say, how long have you had your business? Oh, about a year. And you can't make $6.5 grand. Okay, you ain't going to be a billionaire. So set yourself up for success. You know.
Number 2, understand the SA business landscape. You said something interesting at the last Ignite Sales, which kind of stuck with me. You spoke about I think it was your nephew who was in Australia.
Yeah.
You said you should come to Australia, you know, everything works. And you were like, yeah, why would I want to come where everything works? There's no opportunity.
Yeah.
We understand the context.
So no opportunity within that context, within the way I think.
Yeah.
Why? Because the way my brain thinks is opportunities come from problems. And the more problems there are, the more opportunities there are. So understand the environment you're in, understand the fact that, you know, the core concept of sales is to solve problems. The core concept of business is to identify a problem, create a solution, and then create an offering that people are prepared to take up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, understand the environment that you're in, understand the market that you're in, understand who's going to take the product. You know, because a product works in the States doesn't mean it'll work in South Africa. You know,
people miss that one so much.
So because a product works in South Africa doesn't mean it'll work in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Because you have a wonderful idea doesn't mean people are going to buy it. you know, a guy I've done quite a lot of work with over the year became a friend of mine, Willem Coates. Willem says this: one of the biggest problems he sees in startup businesses is people fall in love with their idea.
Yeah.
And then they're not prepared to take advice, and they're not prepared to hear people say, listen dude, your idea needs to change or your idea sucks. And they get so stuck on, but it's my idea and everyone's going to like it. No, not everyone's going to like it because you like it.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so you have to understand the market, you have to understand what the market wants, you have to understand the environment that you're going to play in. You've got to get an understanding of what are the positives and what are the negatives. You know, if you're sitting around expecting that you're going to get handed out money and loans at low interest rates, well, well, you're on a hiding to nothing, because one, we don't operate at low interest rates in South Africa, and two, no one's just going to hand you out money. So set yourself up and go, okay, well, what is the environment I'm in, and how do I play that environment?
Yeah, know the rules of the environment.
Know the rules of the environment, 100%. You know, Suli, if we're going to go into, for example, the corporate world, well, guess what? One of the rules of that environment is you need to be BEE. Great. So we can sit around and complain about why it's unfair and it doesn't, you know, it's not beneficial. We'll just go, it is the rule. What do we have to do to make sure that we cover that we can play by that rule?
Yeah.
You know, or we must play in a different market where that rule doesn't apply.
So the rules difference that works for us.
Does that make sense? People will complain that that's unfair. It may be unfair, but it is the way it is.
It's the rules.
So there's many ways that the environment works. Do you understand the environment you're going into? Do you understand what's required in that environment? So get an understanding of your market. Get an understanding of in South Africa in particular, because that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Is get an understanding of the South African economy. Understand how it works. Understand the rules and the regulations. Understand what the expectations are. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. That's the way it works.
Yeah, 100%.
Understand that when you get, I think it's still, when you get to R1 million business, you have to register for VAT. If you don't like that, well, don't start your business and don't get to R1 million. Okay, if you get to R1 million, you've got to register for VAT and you've got to start paying VAT.
Those are the rules.
That's the way it works. And then don't complain that, hey, I'm R1 million, now it's unfair because I have to add on 15% and the guys that I'm competing against that are sitting on the street corner selling the same stuff as me don't have to add on 15%.
You wanted to run this type of business, right?
Well, then downscale your business and go sit in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so understand the rules and the environment that you're in.
Number 3. Get your financials right from day one.
One, there's 2 things school doesn't teach you. School does not teach you how to make money, and school does not teach you how to make money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you have to be able to sell, because sales generates income, and if you're not generating income, you're not going to have a business. It's really, that's as simple as it is. You know, you cannot have a business if you cannot sell. So you have to generate income. Second thing is, you've got to be able to understand the numbers, and financial statements tell a story.
Yeah.
You know, I have no idea what the percentage is, but I'm going to hazard a guess that it's in the high 90s.
What?
Of small to medium business owners that do not have proper financials.
Ooh.
That you know, I speak to my accountant clients, and they tell me that many of the people that they go into work with have no financials, and what they do is they drop off their expenses and everything with their bookkeeper. At the end of the year, their bookkeeper captures it all, and they hope that they've made some money.
Yeah.
And too many small to medium sized business owners are running their business on their bank account.
On their personal bank accounts.
Well, no, even on their business bank account. Because so when I say run it, they look. If they have money, they do shit. If they don't have money, they don't.
Yeah.
But they're not sitting down going, what's my cash flow projection? What's my income statement? What's my balance sheet? Do they understand it? Where does my money come from? Where does my money go? How much money do I need to grow? If you don't have financials and you don't have, you know, Robert Kiyosaki says this. He says the most important person on your team is your bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Second is your accountant. Third is your lawyer. Oof. So why? Because your bookkeeper does your numbers. Not once a year. Your bookkeeper should do your numbers every single month. My accountant has to deliver my numbers by the 12th of the month. On the 12th of the month, I want a full income statement so that I can look at my income and my expenses. I can go through my balance sheet, look at my assets and my liabilities. I can identify my cash flow. And I look at our system. Before she sends me those numbers, I have a very good idea, because I look at the numbers on my business, on my accounting system every single day. I know what's coming in, I know what's going out. I manage my cash flow. Most small to medium-sized business owners are not doing that.
Yeah.
And then when money gets tight, they hide away. Because money triggers emotions and all that sort of stuff. So they hide away rather than actually fixing it. You know?
Yeah.
Rather confront the nightmare that you have then let it get worse. You know, so yeah. Number 3 is get financials. Hire a bookkeeper. Yeah, people say to me, yeah, but it's $3,000 for a bookkeeper. It'll cost you way more if you try to do it yourself. The reality is, if you try to do it yourself, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. When times get tough, you're not going to do it. When you get busy, you're not going to do it. And suddenly you're going to find yourself 3-4 months with not having captured your stuff. You're not sending out invoices. You're not following up on outstanding debtors, and your business is in the shit.
You have no idea
Okay,
what your money is.
right up front, start a business, budget to spend $3,000 to find a good bookkeeper. There are great bookkeepers and great accountants. Find a good bookkeeper, spend the $3,000. It is a required expense in your business, and rather than you trying to do your books, get out and go friggin' make $3,000 to cover that. Okay. I know, I've been down that route. Nicole and I did our own books, and for a while it worked okay, and then it didn't work, and then it sucked, and then it creates issues because you're not doing the stuff that you should be doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I will never ever ever start any other businesses without having a full-time accounting officer in my business, a bookkeeper who does my numbers right from day one. Never ever. So get your financials right from day one. Spend the money on the most important person in your business, and that's the person that will tell you where your business is going, whether it's good or bad, whether you're making money or losing money.
Yeah.
And make sure you understand the questions that you need to ask to find a good bookkeeper.
So you wanted a number. You were probably right, because it says more than 60% of small businesses in South Africa fail to meet compliance requirements for financial statements. More than 60%.
Wow.
And there was, so I mean, from the, remember we started with the 434 registered businesses, then I went and I looked into it, and it's 700 for that year, for that period was 770,000 businesses that were operational. That was also taken with businesses from the previous year.
Yeah.
So there is, even with that math, there's a lot of people who, like you said, have registered, they have the piece of paper, but they're not operating.
100%.
And it's a crazy number that it's more than 60% fail to read. Like, that's
They don't have financials.
we're in a bad space.
And if you don't have financials, you can't borrow money.
Yeah.
I mean, so people are sitting around going, I need to borrow money, and then they don't have financials. And no one's going to lend you money if you don't have financials.
I mean, we had somebody on the last UGE who basically works with entrepreneurs to, you know, help fund their businesses. And that was one of the key things that he said. People come and they, like you just said as well, they love with their beautiful idea. Okay, cool, show me your cash flow forecast, show me all these forecasts for the next few years. And they're like, what?
And he started off saying, just show me your sales.
Yeah.
How much
Show
sales
me
did you
what
make?
you generate.
I've made lots. Where?
Yeah.
What's the number? What are your expenses? And he said it, you know, in the lending game, that's one of their biggest problems.
Yeah, he did.
Is that they have these people who want to build businesses, but they have no idea on their financials, because they don't do financials.
Yep.
You know, so do financials. You cannot have a business if you're not doing financials. Numbers tell a story.
Yeah.
And in my experience, 90% of all the business owners that I work with, one of their biggest weaknesses is understanding financial numbers.
Yeah.
You know, even accountants running their own business hide away from friggin' numbers.
How's this one line for you? If you don't understand your numbers, you don't have a business, you have an expensive hobby.
Yes, I love that. And yeah.
The funny thing is, I've heard you probably say that before. That's why I pepper these things in, because I'm just trying to remember all the weird things you say that I feel go over people's heads, and I'm like, that's going to work somewhere. I just need to figure out where to bring it. Number 4, your favorite of favorites. Funny enough, we've spoken about this a lot, and I feel like all of a sudden, the world has woken up to this. Learning how to sell.
So it's simple, Jim. In fact, that for me is number 1. That's not number 4. that is number 1. While you're figuring out the market, find shit to sell and make some money. While you're getting, in order to get your financials done and get a good bookkeeper, you need to be making money.
Yeah.
You know, in order to capitalize your business, while you're waiting for loans to come in, you need to get out and make money. That for me is number 1. That's not number 4. That goes from 4 to 1. Sales equals income. Income equals life. If you want your business to survive, you better be able to sell. if you want your business to live a long, successful life, you better be able to generate income and you better be able to sell. So it's simple. That's why my first book is Sales is a Life Skill. The second book is The Salesman's Journey. And the biggest problem in all businesses is sales. You know, sometimes business owners can sell, and then when they want to scale, the problem is they can't find salespeople and they can't build salespeople who can sell. Many business owners have a great idea and they can't make money because they can't sell. And it's the one area that way too few people are investing to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
To learn how to get out and go generate income. When I started this training business, I didn't sell training. I sold books and games. I connected with the Rich Dad Corporation through Robert Kiyosaki. I brought in books and games, and I got out and sold books and games. Why did I sell books and games? Because I needed to generate cash flow to fund my business while I was learning to train.
Yeah.
Then what did I do? I brought Blair Singer out to South Africa, and I made an agreement with him 3 months before he came out. And part of that agreement was that I would take care of the costs of the event. I would pay for him to come out. I would pay for his flights and accommodation. So guess what? I needed to sell. So what did we do? We booked a venue. Well, when we booked a venue, we had to put deposits down.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have relationships with people like we have now.
Yeah.
We had to put a sizable deposit down. I needed to find money. How do you find the money? I got out and freaking sold. So what did I do? I sold seats. I got out and sold seats into the event. I think we had in our first sales explosion with Blair Singer, we had nearly 200 people. I think it was 190 people, 189 people, somewhere around about there. And we sold seats in so that we could fund that. And I got out and sold.
You didn't wait to complete your training first and then go out and sell.
No, I had to make money. Friggin' heck, I'd left the corporate world. I still had a friggin' expensive car and all the other stuff that comes with a nice corporate job. I had to fund those things because the bank didn't take them. The bank didn't phone me up and say, "Hey, we hear that you've left your job, so we'll give you a little bit of respite." They didn't do that. They were still asking for their money. I had kids at school. I had to get out and make some money. I had a provident fund that I had withdrawn that was funding my existence. It wasn't going to last for very long. It was going to last for 6 months. I needed to make friggin' money.
Yeah.
How do you make money? You sell. And it's one of the fundamental problems for most small to medium-sized business owners. You're not frigging selling.
Yep.
Get out and sell. Learn to sell. Stop getting stuck in the bullshit of thinking that sales is marketing. It's not frigging marketing. It's sales. Too many small business owners mistake marketing for sales. So they're going to do a nice website and Facebook and all that sort of shit and wait for business to come. Sales is an action game. You go and find customers. You don't wait for customers to come to you. When you do that, you start making money. When you start making money, you start funding your business. When you start funding your business, you can start moving.
Yeah.
Without sales, you don't have a business. So learn to sell. I don't care what business you have. Learn to sell. Become a master of sales. Sales is a very simple game, but people just complicate it because they think they know about sales, but they're not studying to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
If you want to make money in your business, you better be able to sell. If you want to make a lot of money in your business, you better be able to teach other people to sell. It's very simple.
If you want to learn how to sell, that book right there, Sales is a Life Skill, 18 tools and techniques that will help you learn how to sell.
And once you've read that, read A Salesman's Journey.
That one's
And once you've done that,
a story. That's pretty cool.
Come to our Sales Explosion program.
Yeah.
2 days. In that Sales Explosion, I guarantee I will teach you about sales. Once you've learned about that, then go and apply that stuff. It's the number one skill that I teach. Sales. I've been in sales 32 years. If any business that I start, what's my focus?
Sales.
Sales, right up front.
Sales.
I'm sorting out the marketing, the website, all that sort of stuff, but the prime focus is I have a product, I have a service, I'm in the market, I'm freaking selling it to generate money. Why? Because the money that I generate will fund the website and fund the staff and fund everything else.
You just gave me a thought there because I remember when you started the chicken business, right? Most people would have went the other way with it. They would have went the direction of let's get all the marketing sorted, let's get all of this, let's get things
So
going.
we designed their t-shirts and
Build it
had
up.
all that stuff all ready to go.
And you sold 0 chickens.
Correct.
And you actually came out and you sold a bunch of chickens.
I just went and sold
before
chickens.
you even did anything.
That's all I did.
There was no website, there was no Facebook page, you didn't even know that the business existed. You only knew because somebody was selling you chickens.
And that was me.
Yeah.
and I was moving chickens and making a bit of money and turning that money. And once I made a bit of money, then I paid to go to a bloody event. And we had that and we sold chickens at that event. And it was all about sales.
Yeah, I mean, you sold chickens at, little segue, because it's just a story that was fascinating to me because I was there cooking the chickens. And you were busy at this, it was a CrossFit event.
Yes.
And you were participating, competing in the event.
And
but when you were not competing, you were out there chasing people down. Do you want chicken?
100%, I was selling chickens.
And the best part was you weren't going to them just, hey, you want to buy some chickens? No, you were going with, you came to me and you said, Sully, can you get me 3 packs done? I'm going to go and sell these chickens.
Yes.
And you left, and you came back with money and no chickens.
And I went again.
And you went again?
And then we took tasters.
Yes.
And I took tasters around. Took tasters around. People were like, that was lekker. I was like, come to my tent. We're over there. In fact, I'll bring it to you. We wanted to sell.
You were incredibly deliberate. It wasn't but it also wasn't a thing of, I'm pointing, we're over there. No, you brought them there. You said, stand in line. They'll sort you out.
You have to sell. But people don't want to do that because they have this idea, I'm going to start a chicken business and I'm going to be a millionaire when the $1 million comes in. Well, you know what $1 million comes in? It comes in by selling, if you're making R1 a frigging chicken, you better sell 1 million chickens. You're making R10 a chicken, you got to sell 100,000 chickens and so on. Because if you don't, you ain't going to make $1 million. And it starts with 1 chicken.
Yeah. So
you sell 1 chicken, make it $10 or $20 or $50, whatever you make. And then another one and another one. And the quicker you can do that, and the more you can compress that, the more income you generate, the more profit you make, the more you can grow your business.
Mm.
And then, guess what? Now you have some money, you can employ someone else to come and sell. And that's how it grows. So sales is number 1. Yes, it's sitting there at 4, but in my world, it is number 1. If you cannot sell and you're not prepared to sell, you ain't going to make money.
Whew. That was a big one. I always knew that was going to be a big one because it's sales, and I've never met any person on this planet who speaks more passionately about sales than you do. Like genuinely, I've never met nor seen somebody, like even watching videos and stuff online, and I think that just, the more people get that, I think the more successful businesses we will have in this country if people start to do it.
And stop complicating it, man.
Yeah.
People are out there making sales like this amazing, friggin' unbelievable thing that you have to be incredibly, I don't know, the gift of the gab and a friggin' unbelievable type of person that, no you don't. You have to understand the core base fundamentals of sales. What's the core base of sales? It's exactly the same as the secret to making money. The secret to making money, and I learned this from a guy called Frank Bettcher in a book called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success Through Selling. Bettcher says the secret to making money is find out what people want and help them get it. The secret to making a lot of money is find out what a lot of people want and help them get it.
Mm.
The art of sales is the ability to find what people want, help them get it, and in return you'll get what you want. So the core fundamental is you have to go out, find people, ask them what they want. Do you eat chicken, Sully? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Excellent. Do you like flat chickens? Yes, I do. Sully, great. Sully, I have a business. We do flat chickens. We have 6 flavors. They're 130 rand a chicken. If you buy a 6-pack, they're 120 rand a chicken. Can I get you a 6-pack of 6 different flavors for you to start off and try? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Excellent. You go, no. I go, okay, well, what about a 3-pack? Okay, I'll start with the 3-pack. Brilliant. Which flavors do you... I help you get it.
Yeah.
Then I follow up and I phone you. How are the chickens? Hey, I've tasted 2. I love them. Excellent. Can I deliver some more? That's the art of selling.
Mm.
I'm not this, oh, look at me and look how amazing I am and look at the car I drive and ooh, you need my chickens because I'm a friggin' hero. Cock, man. I go out, I find what you want and I help you get it, and I do it again and again and again and again and again. And over time I grow my business, and you can take that into any flipping business. Any business. And that's the art of sales. It's very simple. There's 5 or 6 core fundamentals that you need to understand. You need to have a sales process. Be very clear on your sales process. You need to understand your sales numbers, and you need to get out, get off your ass and do the work. Because when you do the work, sales is an action game. When you take action, you'll start making money. And yeah, we can talk on this all day. I've written 3 books on
just on this topic.
On this topic in business. I
talked it for only 30 years.
You know, so yeah, get out and sell. You know, if you're not learning how to sell, and get out of the nonsensical myths of who you have to be a salesperson. Everyone sells all the time, and anyone can learn how to sell. You have to make a decision that you want to learn how to sell, and if you do, get through that little voice and start selling. What's number 5?
I will tell you number 5, but I think, just to add on to that, my belief is 2 people that you guys should, if you want to learn how to sell and learn how to sell well, there's 2 people you should learn from. One is Barry. Read all his books, watch all our content. You will learn how to sell. And number 2 is Jesus Christ. I'm going to tell you why. And this is not religious. If you just go and study the Bible and study Jesus and how Jesus did what he did. Jesus was selling to people who he knew were his customers. He knew they were his target audience. Right? He wasn't trying to convince anybody or trick anybody. He was just trying to show them the product. And the product being God.
And how did he connect to people?
He asked them
questions and he told stories.
That's
and
all he did.
And he found people who were looking with him.
Yeah.
He is the greatest salesman this world has ever seen. You have 2 billion customers 2,000 years after you left. And
honestly, just study it and you'll understand where I'm coming from. Come back and comment.
Study how he spoke to people, how he connected with people. What did he do? He sold to 12 men to follow him.
Yeah.
He sold to 12 men to follow him, and he spent years teaching them how to sell.
Yep.
And they taught other people how to sell. And today, the church grows because people are standing selling.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just that's the historical process. You know, I get it in a religious belief context, but as a communicator, one of the most effective sales communicator the world, in fact, not probably, was the world has ever seen.
Yeah. Like, when people get lost in the miracles, don't get the miracles of the miracles. That's just one aspect of Jesus' ability. But his ability to connect and communicate and ask questions of people, so people ask questions of themselves.
Every time he was challenged, he just asked questions.
Yeah.
And he sold to people to either turn around, walk away, or to change their perspective on how they saw life. And that's the game.
And he was willing to die for what he sold.
You know, he was a master of standing on the edge.
Yep.
And showing people perspective, and going for them. So yeah, great point. Number 5.
There's another one that I know you like. Build systems, not just the business.
Processes drive businesses. Systems drive businesses. You know, a question that I ask in many of my seminars is, how do you make money? And the number one answer is, we sell. I said, no, I didn't ask what's the skill that you need to have to make money. How do you make money? What's your recipe?
Yeah.
If you're making a chocolate cake, what's your recipe? In your business, how do you make money? What are the steps to make money? What is the process to make money? Because if you don't understand your business process to make money, you can't make money. How do you duplicate it? When you're going to go to another country, another province, another region, or bring in another salesperson, how do you duplicate it? You have to have a process. What's your process for manufacturing? What's your process for delivery? Why? Because processes and systems drive the business. People drive processes and systems, and you hold people accountable to a process and a system. If you don't have a process and a system, you can't hold people accountable to anything. And then people will do whatever they think they should do. So develop processes and systems right early on in your business. You're starting a business, start thinking about the processes and systems, and keep them simple. You don't need intergalactic frigging processes and systems. I teach a 6-step sales process. It's a core template with 6 steps in it. When I work in businesses, or when we work in our own businesses, those 6 steps start having sub-steps in it. But we'll develop a sales process that has 10 or 12 core steps in it. If you follow those steps, you generate something out the bottom. If you consistently follow them, you generate more out of the bottom. And if you consistently follow them with a high level of activity and action, you create results. You know, it's process. Right now, I'm training for a half Ironman. I have a half Ironman in 3.5 weeks. I've spent 20 weeks following a process. Who gave me the process? My coach. Every single week, I follow a system. I swim X amount of times, I run X amount of times, I bike X amount of times. There's certain things I do. Why? Because I want to create results. And she holds me accountable to follow the process.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just do my own shit. Oh, today I feel like cycling. Tomorrow, oh, I don't. Maybe I'll go for a run. Well, maybe I'll get to the half Ironman, but I don't know how well prepared I would be. And that's how lots of people are running businesses. Have this idea: find a process, follow a process. Processes drive business. Systems drive businesses. Get clarity on that process. Hold yourself accountable to the process. Measure the process, and tweak and change that process. It's very simple. But you know what? Most business owners will not do it. Because of whatever.
And I think what you said in the beginning there, I think that for me, in terms of before starting a business, that should be your key process. How do we make money? How do I make money? Because exactly like you said, a lot of people go, well, I sell this.
I want money.
I sell this cup.
Yeah, I got a cup. I'm going to sell. I want to make $1 million. I'm going to sell millions of these.
Okay, how?
Well, if I just put it on, I like this cup. If I just put it on Facebook, millions of people will come. Even if you're going to put it on Facebook, you better have a process.
You have your process.
How do you put it on Facebook? How many times do you post?
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost you to post?
Yeah.
What are you going to measure?
Process?
If you don't have that, it's just a bunch of stuff going on Facebook. So you've got to have that process. What's going to happen when the leads come in? How are you going to deliver to them? Well, how quickly are you going to deliver? What's your promise to deliver? So everything comes back to a process. So, brush your teeth in the morning, there's a process.
It is.
I know, I get up every single morning. I have a process when I get up every morning.
Same process.
Same process. I get up, I walk down the passageway, I take a glass out the cupboard, I put it under the tap, I drink 3 glasses of water, nearly a litre of water in the morning. I take the same glass, I fill it up with water, I put in I put in the stuff that I'm going to take for my upcoming workout. I put it there and I take out the supplements that I'm going to take and I leave them there. I go back down, I brush my teeth, I put my kit on for whatever I'm going to train. I go to the loo, excuse that, but I go to the loo, that's part of my process. I'm ready to go train. I pack my bag. If I'm showering at the gym or showering at the CrossFit box, I pack my bag. I walk down my passageway. I drink the stuff that I've prepared. Okay. I get my protein shake that I prepared. Okay. I put it in my bag. Grab my stuff, and that's my process. I do that every morning. And because I know that that's the thing that gets me going.
Yeah.
Okay. The night before, I plan. I know what I'm doing tomorrow morning. I know what I'm waking up. I really know my process. So it allows me to be disciplined. It limits confusion. Does that make sense?
Discipline.
Processes create discipline. Holding to a process creates discipline. When you're not motivated, discipline kicks in.
Yeah.
When motivation goes away, how do you keep going? Discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline to follow a process, to get it done. Do it again, do it again, do it again. And then you tweak, measure that process, and then you tweak and change it over time. That's how you create scale. Because now you bring in new people. You teach them the process and you hold them accountable to the process. If they're accountable to the process, they'll create results. If they're not, they won't.
Yeah.
So you've got to drive processes.
If you want to learn more about motivation versus discipline, Nicole and I did a smashing podcast last week's episode. Go and listen to that. So, let's wrap this thing up, right? So I'm going to wrap this thing up and then you can bring it home for us, what we covered today. So 5 things you need to know or do before you start a business, and we are flipping it. Number 1, is learn how to sell. That's it. That's the key thing. Number 1.
So I think one, Sully, is not, you have to sell.
You have to.
In the process of getting out and committing to selling, you will learn and get better like anything. So don't wait to learn how to sell. Get out and sell. Get out and sell, and start learning how to sell, and start studying. Start applying sales. Start learning. But step number 1, if you don't sell, you ain't going to make money. If you ain't going to make money, your business is going to friggin' die. Number 1 reason businesses die: lack of cash flow. Lack of cash flow means lack of sales.
Yep.
Lack of sales, lack of money. Very simple.
Number 2, know your why. Or in our world, begin with the end in mind. What do you want to, what is the purpose of what you're doing? You need to cover your expenses because you lost your job? Why?
Yeah.
That's why. That's your why, for example.
And if you want to learn more about that, I mean, one, you can read that in A Salesman's Journey. Two, a wonderful book from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's the second habit in that book.
Yep.
Begin with the end in mind.
Yep.
You know, go read that, go study that, go look at that. Begin with the end in mind and know, and be realistic, man. Be realistic. Stop, can I say it again? Stop watching these friggin' people on Facebook and social media who make these outlandish friggin' promises that if you start a business next month, you're going to be this friggin', have amazing, huge amounts of money coming in. It's not going to flip and happen, man.
No.
It'll happen over time.
Yes.
It'll happen over time if you follow the right processes and you learn and you grow. Set yourself up for success, man.
Number 3, understand the rules of the South African business landscape. It's a key thing. Understand the rules. Understand the rules of what you're playing at. And stick to those rules. Yes, we are currently seeing in South Africa there are people who are not sticking to the rules of what they're supposed to stick to, and they will be held accountable for that.
Well, you get out of exchange. You get out of exchange. Exchange is a principle. Exchange is one of God's laws. Exchange is a universal law. It's a generalized principle. You will always be put back in exchange. So, live by the sword, die by the sword. Get things by ill-gotten gains. They'll be taken you by ill-gotten gains. Build a business in the right means over the right period of time. You'll maintain that business. That's the way it works.
Number 4, get your financials right from day one. Get a bookkeeper. $3,000. Get it done.
Numbers tell a story. Learn to tell the right numbers. And if you don't have numbers in your business, you don't have a business.
Even as a social media marketer, stay away from social media marketers when you're starting a business. Stay away from social media marketing when you start a business. It's not going to generate you income. I'll tell you that right now. That's just the fact.
Get out and sell.
Finally, build systems. That is number 5.
Yeah.
Last one. Done and dusted.
Said it. Systems and processes drive business. And hold people accountable. Hold yourself accountable to those systems and processes. And be prepared to walk the journey. It is freaking going to be tough. Prepare yourself. It's tough. Okay, that's why so few businesses succeed. Because it's a tough journey. But get up and do it again. Be prepared for failure. Be prepared that things aren't going to work the way you hope they're going to work or perceive they're going to work. But you're going to get lessons. Get up. Get tough. The tougher you're going to become, the bigger the business you're going to build. And stop living in la-la fairyland. That's it.
That has been the episode, ladies and gentlemen. 5 things you need to do before you start a business in South Africa. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening from wherever you are around the world. We appreciate you. And I think these principles can be applied anywhere. It's not just related to South Africa, but because we are in South Africa, we want to help build our amazing continent because that is our mission. So that is who we are looking at serving. Don't forget the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. If you subscribe between now and the end of October, you enter into a draw to win a copy of The Salesman's Journey. So get subscribing. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.